Hello, good morning, happy Monday. How are you all doing? How are all you doing today? Something pronunciation. Apparently, I'm not good at that today, but it is a Monday, so that explains that. It's Itsu. Hello. How are you? I think I got everything set up over here on my other monitors, so I think I'm pretty good to go. I've got my tea. I've got some breakfast smoothie stuff. Albert, hello. How are you? Which is still a little bit hot, which is nice. Just got out of 8 20+ second ads. Oh, fun. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I started what I've set up is that I have the 3 minutes of the that required 3 minutes every hour ads start like right at the beginning of the stream during the starting soon time. So the idea is that there's nothing to really look at. And now we have an hour, or at least close to an hour, 58 minutes. So let's take a look at where we are with this. So we're in tree.rs, and if I remember correctly, everything is compiling, but we have to run this again, just to remind myself, because did I actually leave myself a note? There's all this code, but I comment all of it out, and I think it's working now, kind of, sort of. So I think I can safely delete that code altogether. Some of those other notes that we might want to follow. Oh, you just applied for a talk at the next Euro Rust. Nice. Hopefully you get it. That would be amazing. All right, so I want to do cargo run. Okay, so that was ls tree. Now if I do that, okay, so ls tree. Oh, we have a planet. We have an explicit panic on line 56. That would definitely that's where we need to continue then. It's easy enough to understand. So we're able to go through here for one thing, right? So we have the appropriate mode. We have the appropriate object because this is a blob. Right, it is a blob because it's a get attributes. That's good. The checksum, that is missing. So we need the checksum. All right, well, let's see if we can figure out what this is. Now, looking through here, this is still inside of the loop, and we're looking at the most recent. Oh, this is all of the tree objects. So after we go through and we get one tree object out of the pack file, we then push that into this list, print it out, and then hard crash. Now to get the, let's see, okay, so tree object, we get a tree object default. I want to extract the mode. I set the object type. I extract the file name. So then for this tree object, I want to now get this checksum, which is a hash. I do have a parse hash that we began here. Let me make this full. We have our bytes. Now I create a new hash. I set self checksum to be that hash. Okay, so parse hash, which we're not doing. And I wonder if we're not doing that because it crashed. I don't remember why I chose to remove that. Yes, it crashed. Lines not found in this scope. Okay. Oh, because lines. Okay, so we are rewriting all this. That's what it was. I wonder if we need to rewrite parse hash properly then. So what do we have here? We have our values. The values is an iterator with an item U8. And if we take a look at extract mode, for example, okay, this just is an iterator item U8. And then I am iterating through this, and then that moves it forward. Okay, so we do need to update this to now be this thing here. Okay, so we take our bytes. Now, we know we only want 20 bytes out of this. And now I'm trying to get the 20 out of here, and then I need essentially to actually like skip the next 20, which I think we can do with bytes, and we'll just skip 20, which returns a skip. Oh, that returns a skip. That doesn't actually do that. Unless we were to do something like bytes equals bytes.skip. Oh, but I overwrite it to grab the actual content of the bytes. So if I wanted to do something like this is the raw bytes, like the bytes value. This would then need to be the bytes values. And then that one we can safely skip. No. Still a mismatch type. Merrick, hello. How are you doing today? Root and lurking. Well, have a good day too. And Albert starting the streak over. So we got a 3-stream streak. Awesome. Thank you for being here too. Okay, so I don't think I can skip properly when coming in here, but perhaps I don't actually need to take... Okay, so what if instead we undo this? I don't try to do anything crazy like that. Instead, we say I want our hash bytes, and then we just iterate through it. I wonder if this would have to be a vec. Like that. No, wait, it wouldn't be a vec. It would be just an array. Would it just be an array? No, I probably wanted to turn this into vec and then, okay, I make this a vec. You need to be mutable. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that, Merrick. And also, glad you're doing good. Okay, so let mute hash bytes equals this. And then we want to loop through the bytes. So if I do, now this would be like, what if we, okay, so if we do this 20 times, so we do this 20 times, and then I just want the next byte, and I just push that in, right? So I just say hash bytes, push, and get next. Now we see that you're an option unknown. I don't want you to be an option unknown. I want you to be the actual thing, don't I? Yash, hello. How are you doing today? I'm doing pretty good. We are, it's a Monday, so, you know, Mondays be Mondays. But at the same time, it's the weather was actually nice this weekend. I was able to go out and hang out with some friends, and I'm looking forward to more working on this stuff, which is always nice. Okay, so I probably want to do some like let's do, okay, we'll do a let, this is a byte. And then I want to convert this into an error. So it's going to be an, wait. Why are you upset? Oh, because you don't know what this is. Why don't you know what this is? Because the bytes impulse the iterator item U8. That's kind of surprising. It's because of you. You don't know what this is. Expected type parameter impulse. Okay, so I don't know what. Oh, yeah. I don't need to do this at all. Sounds great. Hanging out with friends and nice weather. Exactly. Although we did spend a pretty significant amount of that time inside, so we didn't get to enjoy the weather. It was more of like, hey, let's all hang out inside and then, you know, go watch a movie. Okay, so if I create the hash bytes here, iterate through you. Right, this is not hash. Why am I doing hash bytes? This is just bytes. We do bytes next. That gives me an option that we do an okay or else, which turns this into a result. I want to return this as an anyhow error, which would be don't I have to, I can't use context, right? Wait, does context convert an option to an error? Wait, does it do that? Let's try. Core Bob, hello, how are you doing today? Also, Twitch, seriously, why is the only page where you decide to mute is the one where I explicitly come straight to? If I land on a front page, you decide to unmute and play some random streamer. If I go to category, same thing. But if I navigate directly to a stream page, you decide that is when I want it muted. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I did discover that a few weeks ago. It's very weird, the things that I remember versus the things that I don't remember. Yeah, I totally forgot that if I yank and then I delete a bunch of stuff, I just overwrite the yank, which is not exactly what I want. But it has the thing that I want in here, so that will work. Literally the only case where I want to start the stream muted is when you're presenting me with an ad. Yeah, which I do in the first 3 minutes, but I don't actually know if you come in during that time, do you get the ads or is it already in pre-roll, like off? Okay, so now I have these hash bytes. Oh, but I haven't pushed it in. So now we push in. So we hash bytes, push the byte in. Now the other thing I can do is I could actually make this an index and then throw that in there. I need to create the actual hash next. And you taken that. You taken an owned. Okay, so let's because I can't change it the other way around, can I? Yeah, for some reason, deleted in Vim is basically a cut. Yeah, and I usually have the muscle memory for that. But then every once in a while, when I do a delete first, I remember that, and it works perfectly fine. When I do a yank, for some reason, my brain is like, oh, I've yanked. That's a separate like thing than delete now. That's going to stay. And that's, I don't know why. I wonder if that's because I didn't do yank too many times when I was first learning Vim. It was like always delete, just trust it, which is crazy because back then I wasn't even using version control either. Zilby, you want to come and hang out with us? Hi, wanna come say hi? Yes, he does. Maybe? Wait, you look like you're gonna jump up there. There we go. Okay, so what if we change this to just a hard, where we start with you, and then this is 20 length. And now we get an index. I bet there's a much better way for me to do this. So instead of pushing like this, we're gonna just say of index is equal to byte. Now I can pass in the new, which is going to be the hash bytes. Which you're not getting help because you are mismatch typed. You expected. Oh, that's a result. Okay, because I forgot to question mark you. All right, so you're not happy, and we have a hash come down. We set the hash. Okay, so back up to here. I don't want the lines. I want to pass in the same thing, which is the values. And so now this should move us along the next 20, which I can't remember if it's 20 or 40 in here because I don't remember if we have like what format the hash is in. So we're going to find out. And if the hash looks correct, then we're great. And if it doesn't look good at all, then obviously we have some more work to do. So let's go ahead and write this out and give it a shot. Okay, so here's this hash. That's great. What I would like to do is change the hash to be the appropriate representative. Now I could just do this with a debug, or we can change you to a print line. So let's do it with this tree object, which means you need to be a reference, and we need to put you up here. You don't implement display. Okay. Which would make sense. Okay, so tree object. We're going to need to implement display for you, aren't we? Wait, nope. That was standard. That was the wrong one. Okay, so in here, we're going to write out the essential self to this. And what do we have in here? We have the mode, object type, file name, and checksum. So what I probably want to do is something like mode I wonder if that implements display. Probably not, but I could make that debug too. Yeah, so this doesn't implement display, so object type doesn't implement, but you implement debug, which means we can do that. And then you should be happy. Okay, so nice. When we're grabbing the ls tree from this, we have this checksum. Now we want to see whether or not this is correct, right? So if I get ls tree, and it's going to be the same 8cff 6a32 get attributes. Oh, file name. We missed file name. Let's put that right here. Okay, get attributes versus this one. So get attributes. So 100,644 blob 176a f623. Okay, so we've got the hash out. Perfect. And that's in the correct format for it. And then to get attributes here, that is the correct file name. All right, so I think we're getting really close. Okay, so now if I want to just do this to all of them and then print it out afterwards, I think it should work. So let's go back up to our, do I have a print line? Yeah. Let's remove you for a second. Let's remove this panic. Okay, so now we go through everything, and by the end of this, we should now have all of the tree objects. So we could maybe print these. Maybe the display should look like the Alice tree output. That's probably a good idea. What is the okay? So yeah, we'll do mode. Okay, so we have the mode space blob. So it's actually just like this then, right? So it's mode first. So you start with self mode, and then the blob. That would be the object type. Then the checksum. Checksum, and then a tab, and then the get attributes. So this will be no, just the file name. All right, so you're that way, and then which one? Second one. Okay, so if we run you, it would be helpful if I probably put the it would be helpful if I put the, oh, there's no way to X out of the loop. Well, okay. That's obviously going to cause a problem too. Wait, why didn't that? Oh, internal error. Entered unreachable code, attempted to extract tree object, but not one of the types. Oh no. Okay, well, we have a different error. We have a different problem now. Okay, so maybe before we get into that problem, let's print line. Can I reference tree object like that? I don't think I can, right? I think I have to have that. Oh, I can do that. Never mind. Obviously, this will crash, but it will create a bunch of them first. And we'll see how many of them it creates. It would help if I didn't cause a major error. No, okay, so I'm not allowed to do this. All right. I'm kind of curious why it didn't get the red underlined squiggle, and I think that's because it's inside of this. This blue was like overwriting that. Okay, now you're happy. Well, I don't want to take ownership of the tree object and it doesn't implement copy, so I'd have to clone it. Printline doesn't take ownership? Wait. Is that true? Oh. Well, what do you know? I always just assumed that it followed the ownership rules and everything else. But of course, it's a macro. So, you know, macros do weird and crazy things. So that's kind of funny. Good to know. Thank you, Asitsu. Also, Sanath, hello. How are you doing today? Okay, so if we print this out, we should see a bunch here, which is good. And then if we take a look at our Git, we can kind of actually see where our problems come in. So we have Git attributes, Git ignore. These are all correct, it looks like. Go through the tree. We get to test. And then, okay, so then this one, blob, and then the your Git sh file. You're preparing for your exam tomorrow. Oh, well, good luck with that. Hopefully you're able to get a good grade on it. We are working on we're trying to cross the finish line. We're really close to the end on this build your own Git project. Which also looking up at my OBS, I realized Zilby left. He left like right away, didn't he? Yeah, I guess he came in to say hi and then just like peaced out. Okay, so if there was going to be an interesting error, I would have expected it to happen around the difference here, right? Like the tree, and then back to blob. But this is the error. The error is after test, we reached unreachable code, attempted to extract tree object type, but not one of the types. Let's see if we can find out where that code is. Okay, so it is in tree. Oh, well, okay. That's actually pretty simple then. It's because this is type 100755. Which you're a blob. So actually, oh, you're a blob. You're like that. Now, my guess is that we'll run into an infinite loop. We didn't, but we did successfully get into your Git. So that's good. And if we look at the Git one, okay, so we got the end. So that's everything. Then we panic at tree line 40, cannot parse integer from empty string. That's probably because we reached the end, right? Your test is on compiler design. Low-key hate it. I never got that far into my computer science courses. When I was in university, I took one computer science course and could not stand it. It was not taught very well. And so I ended up dropping out of that and then going into anthropology, of all things. And then coming back to like sort of study computer science through smaller courses or on my own. And that's where I got like those things. So I never got like tests on compiler design or things like that because I mostly focused on other like some of the more classic things that people talk about with computer science as opposed to the actual full computer science. Oh, you're paying university fee to study your own. Oh, nice. Okay, cool. Well, good luck with that. That's awesome. Okay, so this is our error extracting mode while creating tree. There it is. Error extracting mode while creating tree. Cannot parse integer from empty string. Oh, because it's an empty string now. We have to check to see if we're done. Now, can we do that? We have our values here. Can we check to see what our length is? So let's look at let's actually just debug. The values dot length. Right, it's an iterator. Oh, count. No, that's the number of iterations. That goes from the beginning, right? I want like left, like how many are left? Remaining? I don't know a good way, I guess. No, none of this really like makes any sense unless I have all of these return how many iterations they went through, and then we can count that up, which we could definitely do. We're not returning anything right now, which is not the worst thing in the world. What was my first programming language? The first programming language that I was paid to write was Bash. So just shell scripting as a systems administrator. The first programming language that I ever like programmed a computer in and like to do something with that was the version of BASIC that was included on those old IBM PCs, like in the BIOS. And I followed like my parents had gotten me a book of games, and it just was the language. It was just the code. And so I had to read through these and input everything, and then we went from there. And it sometimes worked and a lot of times didn't work, and you have to figure out like what was going on. Good old C++, Turbo C++ with that awful blue screen. One of the computers, so the computers that I had was actually a hand-me-down that my parents had. So I wasn't really allowed to use the compute, like the main house computer, but I got the leftover computer that that they had. And all at that time, computers were updating quite a bit. But we weren't really staying on top of the times all the time. So I got a very old, which had been updated with a graphics card. It didn't have the graphics card had 3 colors. It was RGB. Literally, it had red, green, and blue, and that was the colors. And I programmed in that. So that was a computer from before my time, but like that was gifted to me because it's like, hey, this is like too old for what I'm working with now. So now I get a better computer. You get this thing. And they gave me the House Shaker printer, the good old dot matrix printer that literally shook the entire house whenever I printed on it. It was so loud. And reams of paper. It was great. I love that computer because it was the first time that it was like, this technology is mine. But of course, like nothing, like there were no games. I shouldn't say there were no games. There was Rogue, and there was, which I don't even know if at that time, I just couldn't understand anything. And then there was a game called Duck Hunt. And those are the only games I really remember. Oh, and the Infocom games. The old Infocom games. Those are the ones that I played the most on. Until eventually I was able to like, I got the next computer after that got updated, and then none of those games worked on it because that was a Windows computer. The original one was I guess it was still DOS, wasn't it? But that was DOS before there was any Windows. Yeah, those times must be so brutal. My mother used to refer to these huge books just to interact with email at the time and assembly code, not to forget we came so far. Yeah, no, it's really important for us to remember that it wasn't that long ago that we barely had computers at all. And because of that, like, oh, we talk about like, oh, we know how all this programming types works, but we're still discovering optimal ways to program. Like we're still relatively new, and we're probably going to discover like even better ways to code, even better ways to do hardware, even better ways to do all this other stuff in the future. They're not anymore. Number of transistors. So Moore's law ended sometime before 2010, right? I don't remember what year it ended, but it did eventually end. And we're, 10 years ago or so. Also, shoot thems. Hello. How are you today? How are you doing today? Yeah, so Moore's law ended like 10 years ago or so. And that's when we're not actually doubling the number of transistors, but we are doing crazy cool things to make things still be faster every year. But you'll notice that there's no need. Like there's it used to be that if you did an update every year, you got something really good, right? Like it was double the speed. That's not true anymore. You can buy a computer and you can have it last for 3 or 4 years and you don't feel like you're missing anything. The only thing that you're maybe seeing that with right now is graphics cards. And that's it. You're not really seeing that with anything else. Even memory has sort of come to a plateau where we don't need to update that to like the latest super high speed shielded memory. All right, I finished my tea. Time for my breakfast smoothie. All right, so how do we know? Oh, we can use peak, right? If I use peak, oh, but that changed what this is. But maybe I can still do this here. Can I like let? If I do that, okay, so it's still the same exact thing. So I could just throw in peakable here. Don't need you. And then if we peak, so if we take a look at our next, so it returns a reference to the next value without advancing the iterator. So if we do this, you become an option. So I want to see if this is none. So if let none equals this, I want to break out of the loop. And then we're done. And now we can I guess we'll just see whether or not this breaks it. Hey, it works. Okay. Yeah, honestly, if I know point in those 49ers or whatever they are, it seems like an overkill. There are some times when you're actually able to take your CPU, your graphics card, your memory, or whatever to its absolute limit. And we saw that a few years ago with crypto. People who were doing crypto mining were taking their graphics cards to the absolute limit. And now we're seeing it with AI, where people who are training AI are taking the graphics cards all the way to the top capabilities of what the graphics cards are. And that's the reason why you need like the very best. Like 4090s, in my opinion, aren't really there for games. They're being made and bought primarily for AI. And then some people who, like, if you're developing a game, you obviously need a really good graphics card because you're not optimizing that game. So you're taking the graphics card pretty heavy too, and you want to see what the game plays like without a bunch of lag. But like, it would be foolish for a game company to like make a game that can only play properly on like a 4090, because then you just took most of your audience. They can't play your game anymore. There's no reason for anybody to buy it, and your company is not going to do very well if you do that. You have a 2012 PC with GTX 960 that massively outperforms a 2019 MacBook when it comes to games, getting 1 plus FPS in games that struggle for 15. Well, yeah, and so now it is very interesting. I have found, because I use a Mac here for work type stuff, but I also have a gaming PC that I use for streaming and then also playing some games. And I do find it's very interesting which games actually work pretty decently on the Mac, and that's probably less due to like the hardware and more due to code optimizations that they've done for Mac. But like, you're never going to get the graphics capabilities that you can on a PC. Yeah, even Nvidia doesn't hide that gamers aren't their target anymore. Yeah, if you take a look at their stock prices before and after crypto, you can tell like what line that they were keeping pretty even at. This is during the time when Linus Tech Tips, when a lot of the hardware reviewers were all saying Nvidia is the way to go. And people knew if you wanted to game the best, it was Nvidia, and their stock was like pretty solid, like flat line. I mean, it was good, but it was a flat line. They weren't really growing. And then crypto came out, and nothing's been the same since, at least for their stock. The ultra realism trend in gaming is seriously out of hand. I can't wait until ultra realism has actually just become completely normalized. And then what we're going to see is people start to spread out, because if it becomes super easy for anyone to do ultra realism, then you're not going to be able to use ultra realism as your differentiator, right? Because like, think of it from a business point of view. What's your killer features? If your killer feature is ultra realism and very few other people can do that, that's a selling feature. That's something that you can use to say like, hey, buy my game and experience, like this experience will be novel for you. It'll be really interesting to play in something that looks like it was filmed, even though we're dynamically creating it right here. But as soon as like anybody can do that, which we're pretty close to being there at this point in time, as soon as that happens, then I expect we're going to see even AAA games start to spread out into different art styles, because they need some way, like at that point in time, ultra realism isn't really like a selling feature anymore. It's now just something you can do. And if the medium that you're trying, if you're the actual story you're trying to tell requires ultra realism, then you'll see the games with ultra realism. However, everything else you're going to see in games that like are featuring like whatever seems appropriate for the medium. That's my guess. Also, Art Witten, thank you so much for the subscription. Thank you. I didn't hear that. as a notification, and that makes me wonder, because I have Twitch alerts on. That makes me wonder, what is, let's see, desktop audio, that's going out to audio. Maybe I just turned my, no, the speakers aren't way down. Where's my audio? What are you going out to? No, you're going out to, I think, the correct device. Yeah, when I click on that, I don't hear it. Okay, so if I click on, oh, just, yeah, my speakers are way down. Okay, well, that explains that. Anyways, thank you again, Art Winnin, for the 6-month subscription. Or rather, the subscription's for 6 months. Let's see. So we went through some examples of games with ultra realism. So Alan Wake 2, which I haven't played that. I'm not very good with the more sort of like horror scary games. Even though like a lot of people might argue that games like Alan Wake aren't really scary, it's more on the horror side. I get really stressed out during those, and it's not fun for me. Last of Us. Yeah, so the remake of The Last of Us and then Last of Us 2, I would say. And then all the demos from UE5. Yeah, I like there's oh, what's the there was a horror game where you're walking through the woods. I obviously, because you know, I don't play these games, but every once in a while I can watch people play them if like, and I do it in small bursts. I watched somebody playing through an ultra realistic, looks like it was shot with a hand camera game where if you make a sound, like if you gasp or you scream or something, you die. It was basically like, it felt like a tech demo type game to show off the ultra realism. And to me, that was like one of those, that story that they're trying to tell, that experience really requires that ultra realism because it tricks your brain into thinking this is real. Because normally you have to get into the game, and then there's this weird thing that happens. I don't know if it's happened to, I don't know if any of you have like recognized this, but it certainly like happened to me, especially if you ever get yourself into VR and you see like a cartoonish, like, you know, drawn worldscape, and then eventually your brain just sort of shifts and is like, this is reality now. And like that cartoonish, the escape is like what the world is. And it's kind of weird how quickly our brains adapt to that. And just like, no, that this is real. This is very realistic now. Okay, don't scream. Okay, yeah, I forgot the name of it, but if you haven't taken a look at that, go Google that. Take a look at some Let's Plays of it. It's the initial sort of thought of like, maybe this is just recorded and like everybody's cheating on the game and they're just watching a recorded video is really high. But if you really pay attention, there are some glitches in the graphics every once in a while, but you really have, like, the first watch through that you do is you're not going to see it. The only negative is it is a very, it's meant to cause you to be really like sort of scared. Yes, I know. Okay, yeah, you can disconnect the mic, which then I won't know. But like, obviously that's cheating. But yeah, we're pretty much there. We're pretty much that super high realistic graphics, which is really exciting because I think that means we're going to see more indie games come out with ultra realistic high graphics, and it's not going to cost them anything extra, which is nice. Okay, so we have this. Now, if I remember correctly, let's actually we have a bunch of warnings. Let's first get rid of the warnings. Now, if we're not reading this, then I don't think we're even using tree parser, are we? Ever. Like, can I go to references? No, we are. Okay, so we are, but then you're not being read? Does my LS tree implementation support not name only? No, it does not. It does not. Because that passed the test from CodeCrafters. Okay, so if I were to take all of you. Oh yeah, I don't think we're using this at all. So if we just delete you. Yeah, no errors. So we're fine. Okay, so there's those, and then no more errors and warnings. If we try to run you again, then we're good to go. I suppose you could just implement display on the tree. Yes, we probably could. And then have it just like do that. That would also make sense. All right, let's go ahead and send this on up and double check that we can get to where we're going. Also, I didn't notice that it's been an hour and an ad break just started. So sorry, I usually try to give you warning, but I missed it this time. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and push this on up to CodeCrafters and take a look to see how far we get. Now, the hope is that we get all the way to our current stage, which is the get clone stage. But I wouldn't be completely shocked if something else is broken. And obviously this takes a little bit longer too. Okay, so we failed at stage 7, which is get clone. Okay, perfect. So what happened here? We panicked. Thread main panicked at don't have get object in clone. Okay, so in handle ref delta, we have this base get objects, get hash, expect, don't have get object. With the get objects being these get objects passed in, I create the get objects. And then ref delta, handle ref delta. Okay, so I pass in to get objects here. Okay, so it doesn't have that specific hash in here. That's the problem.